Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ed Army, and as you can tell today, we're going on a different topic, although it is still card game related, as we're going to be talking about Digimon card art and why I think it's on another level. And yes, I will fight people on that. So we're about to get into it, but also I want to thank you guys. This is the third day of the 200th upload celebration, and I just want to thank you all for being a part of it. But we're going to jump into it today, as I want to talk about the card art of Digimon and why it is on another level, and why I think it's one of the best things that lets the game stand out, as I have many reasons. We're going to go through it today. So obviously, we're starting off with one of my most important factors when we talk about the actual card art, and that's going to be its uniqueness. Now, I have some examples here for you. So starting off, I have Yu-Gi-Oh! I have been an avid Yu-Gi-Oh! Player for years, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Art is something that I am very accustomed to. Now starting, we have Effect Veiler here. Now this is just showcasing the kind of standard art of other card games. You know, I'm used to how Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards look. I know some people maybe are not used to how Duel Monsters or Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards look. Personally, they are what they are. They allow you to understand that there's art for a card. You have a name, you have levels, you have your attack and defense. You also have the effects of monsters clearly expressed and their types. So this is pretty clear to me. You know, this is basically made sure that you understand how the card functions, what it looks like, all that stuff. Cool. Pretty standard, and it gives Yu-Gi-Oh! Its standard look that it has. We look at Pokemon. Pokemon has a variety of arts, very similar to the aspects of what we'll talk about with Digimon. However, with Pokemon, obviously, it is surrounded by the actual aspect of Pokemon itself. So the brand, the company itself is the main focus of the cards, and this does limit them somewhat. And what I mean by this is you can't really depict something that is directly meant for kids in certain fashions, which is kind of where Digimon kind of blurs the lines. But it does not mean that I think between Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and or Digimon, that's a problem. I think when you're making cards and you have a successful company and brand, you got to do what you got to do, and if this works for them, this is what they do, and that's the art. Now the next one I'm going to depict is actually one of my favorite arts, but I'll explain why in a second, and this is going to be the ST7 Shine Greymon. Now this one may not be popular to many, however, to me, I like Shine Greymon, but not just because of Shine Greymon. The reason I picked this card is that this is a starter deck card, and this wasn't even the cover card of the actual structure deck. This is technically what I guess people would call a filler, as this was designed for the archetype in terms of being put into the structure deck so that there was an additional boss Digimon. But the main reason why I put it in uniqueness is that even our lowest rarity arts, or even like filler arts technically, or filler cards you could argue in structure decks, have fantastic art, and this is arguably one of them, as I do think this one stands out really well when you're wanting to depict kind of how Digimon focuses. The uniqueness here is that you do have your stats, you have your play levels, your Digi evolution levels usually, and you have your skill bar, which is technically, I guess, where you would start saying effects and whatnot that go underneath. You also have the name, you have the little tag bar to denote level on the bottom. You also have typings as well as attributes, fields, that type of thing on the bottom. You have numbers. Additionally, you have the name, and the main factor is the Digimon art can either envelop the card or just be a part of the card, but the point is the art is still the main focus. As you can see, Shine Greymon is right here, standing prominently as one of the most focused cards. Then we look at the comparison between the three that I mentioned. You kind of see, if you were talking about how they each stand out, each of them represent their own different aspects of each game. They represent what they're supposed to be, obviously the styles of how they want to approach it. The funny part I find is that the text box for the names of cards on Digimon are placed on the bottom. So I do think that's a cool aspect of kind of like flipping it around, because usually they're at the top, so it does change up a bit. But when we look at what I'm showing as a comparison, we have another card that I would technically say is a filler because it was from BT4 a long time ago. We have the BT4 Shine Greymon. This one I always thought was cool in its art because it depicts the sun being behind Shine Greymon, so you can't really say that's not cool. Like, that's really amazing. But the point is, like I said, this is also an uncommon card. No, this was a rare card technically before they switched to the different rarity typing of rare. The main thing I still want to depict is that the art for this card is absolutely fantastic. It stands out, it's striking, and it showcases kind of the difference I think that a lot of Digimon card art has versus its competitors. It just has that unique feeling. And when we look at cards like this is my last depiction for uniqueness, we have cards that are in the common, uncommon, and rare, which are technically the lowest rarities of the game, that have absolutely fantastic art. One of my favorite artworks for one of my Digimon that I enjoy, but but still, one of my favorite artworks is the common Tactimon from BT10, I believe. This is the Bagra Army card. This one has such a stellar art, and this is a common card. It just has a really cool flow and depiction to really give elements. And then something like this Metal Edamon here is a great example as well to showcase how, you know, Digimon has its little goofy side too, where you have a lot of different designs that are really out of place in terms of kind of how maybe people think about, you know, monster card games. But the design is really cool here. It stands out and also has this really different detail. But this is also an uncommon card. So this is kind of the point I'm saying, is that even uncommons and commons get the treatment of being fabulous artworks. And additionally, we have cards like this BT19 Dynasmon here, which is a rare, and just look at that artwork. It just stands out a lot, and it really is striking, and it's just like one of the major benefits of uniqueness when you're playing the Digimon card game. You have a lot of unique aspects to talk about. Now we're going to be talking about artists and style next, because I really think this is where a lot of our different parts of the community come together to talk about different cards and also their favorite artists, because it does actually allow people to collect the cards in their own fashion, but more importantly allows you to feel more connected, because maybe you just like the way one of the artists actually draw the cards for Digimon, or whoever specifically you enjoy their artwork for is going to be, you know, important to you. But starting off, we're going to be talking about I think one of the artists that for Digimon has really been a breakthrough, because I think this is the one where I see like non Digimon creators talking about. So talking about people like Naochika Morishita, I think his art specifically is absolutely fantastic. You see the depth, I think, levels of it. You see stuff in the different arts. I have just a few to mention. There's obviously more, but Morishita's art really is striking because it gives, I think, this level and balance of the beauty of art itself depicted in the use of the Digimon itself. So like if you look at something like the Armageddon, it has a depth range around it and it feels really cool. You understand the kind of the weight of the Digimon's design too, because you see how big it is. And then when you compare that to something like the Omnimon, which funny enough, both of them are from BT17, I wanted to use these as an example for contrasting, but also explaining the art form that's amazing, is that you really feel that you have this depth that's added to both designs, and you can feel that obviously the same artist may have drawn them because they have a little bit of stylistic similarities, but they carry the same weight in terms of their significance of their design. So yes, like I said, one thing too is art is subjective. It is all on the people that you and the person like to prefer. But I really do love this type of art, and Morishita's art, even in something like the upcoming BT20 set, there's a few arts obviously done by them. The main thing I like is in the Valder arm. It carries with it like the most interesting in terms of dynamics of art, because at the same time you don't see the full body of Chaosmon Valderarm, but you don't need to. You need to just understand the significance of its power demonstrated in the card itself, because it's a level 7, and I really do feel that aspect when the creation of this art piece is actually done in this card. So it's absolutely fantastic. You could frame these up. I would love full arts of these cards. It's like, you know, maybe one day they give them for prizes because they're just really nice. But we're talking about other artists as well, but the style here is amazing. I want to talk about one of my favorites that has printed art since the beginning of Digimon's inception of the card game, and that's going to be Kenji Watanabe. I really like the Watanabe arts because a lot of them have this tapestry artsy feeling that I just loved in the early game, because when you talk about alternate arts, sometimes people aren't necessarily fans of alternate arts because there's never really a big departure from the original. But when I saw Watanabe's first like arts for a lot of the cards printed in the card game, when I started playing in 1.0, I loved this tapestry art design, and you can see this like crossing over in terms of the amazing like scale of it, because the thing I like about this is that with this art, you almost feel like you could get this as a painting, and it would still be really cool regardless of who was to say like, oh, I don't know what that is. But the artwork, the stylistic choice, I think it's amazing. Like I said, you could literally frame them up in a collection. I like the fact that when you're depicting the different characters of Digimon in terms of their style, a lot of people go sometimes different routes or similar routes, or they want to have this grandeur. And since Royal Knights are, you know, kind of a grand and important factor for Digimon as a whole, because they're probably the most important grouping in terms of just existence, I really love the fact that Watanabe kind of drew them this way and illustrates them this way. So it really feels the immensity and the importance of the Royal Knights as a whole. But this doesn't mean that just the seriousness of the art and the depiction of it has to be cool. As we look at Iori Sunakara's art that I have here, which we'll see a lot of in BT20 with some of the chibi art, with some like the Demi Vmon, the Baby Domon, and from Secret Crisis, both Flamemon, Strabimon, as well as other artwork from different sets. The reason I want to highlight these is that I love the fact that we can have both the serious art. We can also have the little like chibi and also our more like cutesy level 3s as well, like rookies and stuff. Even champions and ultimates that can fill the vibe can also be treated in a very subtle way, because this art, to me, I really like it. Like some people might depict saying, well, it's a little bit more, I would say, simplistic. I would not really say it's simplistic at all. There's lots of details in the art surrounding it. I like the kind of the almost feeling like someone could have maybe painted or used pastels to make the artwork is just really interesting to me. And it really does allow Digimon to have a better depth, because you have this grand feeling of understanding that depending on how you feel about how cards look, there's always going to be something different for everybody. And I think I like this as well. Like I don't have an issue, I think, with the varying art styles used to depict a lot of cards, because it does allow you to understand that Digimon is a very unique game and a unique brand where, you know, obviously Digimon can change to their different levels as they choose to. And I think having different artwork to depict that as well is something monumental in terms of the understanding of maybe progression. As you climb up the ladder, right, in the game, like Digimon, you level up your Digimon, they can go from these cutesy little creatures to the more extreme and serious depictions from other artists as we go up. So I think that's also a cool level of interaction that maybe we forget, but it's absolutely cool, and I love the cutesy art. Now, I would also be remiss, because I do have a few more, as we don't talk about the Eyes Maria art. I think these are arguably, between the original art of Morishita, I think Eyes Maria's are very impactful, because I think a lot of the arts that have been drawn really capture the amazing aspect of it. And I do think this is where Eyes Maria art are at their best, because they just have the amazing, like, I would almost say, like, not tapestry, but they have this really heavy weight to them. And I think that's completely fine. I think a lot of people enjoy that because, like I said, one of the benefits of Digimon is, yes, you have your favorite Digimon. And when your favorite Digimon is depicted in such a way that grabs the attention of the actual players, as well as, you know, people that are just simply enjoying it. And, you know, that's kind of the key thing I like, is that there are stylistic similarities, obviously, in the creators of the art. So I do mean that, you know, as a good thing, right? It's a part of the system of saying, hey, you know, this is where this is made, this is how they do it, this is like their style. But ultimately, it's the vibe and feeling you get when, like, when you rip open a pack, that not just because it's worth a value, like money, cards are worth money, it's the feeling of when you see something, you're like, oh wow, this is, you know, beautiful. And, you know, some of my favorite dual arts, like, I absolutely love the dual art of Genkumon and Jesmon. Like, when you put them together, oh man, like, this as a full art is just so cool. Like, I would love a full art, like, matte, or even, like I said, a picture of it, because I do think that seeing something like this is absolutely amazing. It's really awesome. You know, people get really good vibes off of it, because it just shows the level of, you know, skill that goes into a lot of the art that we see. So, you know, I like to just highlight the artists, because I do think they are the reason why the card art is on another level. They depict our favorite characters in such a way that really is able to magnify how people feel about the game and the brand as a whole. Because I think for Digimon, it's a bit different than like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, where we kind of just let the art, like, whoever do whatever they want. Like, the Pokemon company can do whatever they want for Pokemon, and then people will still love it. Yu-Gi-Oh players, Konami famously, we don't really necessarily ever push too much for art. You know, sometimes we would love full arts, but they don't do that. But the point is, for Digimon, I really do think the artists go out of their way to depict these Digimon in different ways, so that we have the feeling that they're obviously respecting the things that people love, but at the same time, their artistic expression stands out really strong. As I also want to give a shout out to our many artists and different artists that are a part of what I would say is the ones that draw our standard arts, because there's a lot to go into the fact that we have a lot of packs, but also we get the idea of artists having to make the standard art versus the alt art. And a lot of times alt arts take away the light, but I do want to give appreciation to artists like Takase, I think I'm pronouncing that right, or Takas, or I'm assuming it's Takase. But the point is, I appreciate when the arts for standard cards are very good and they stand out still strong. Like I have Codecracker Fang from the upcoming set and Hacker Judge. And, all art is amazing, but I still love the details drawn in to giving the vibe of the original or the standard art versus the alt art. Additionally, BT12 Gallantmon, I think, was one that I really enjoy because this card in its standard art is still really cool because it represents Gallantmon really well. And the alt art is still good, but I do appreciate the normal art. And then even in alt arts like the Vmon from BT2, or sorry, BT3, I really love the fact that a lot of artists can give their own type of touch, whether they're making the standard art or whether they're making the alt art, just because it feels so good. But now we're going to move into the third one, and this one I think is no surprise to anyone, as we get to talk about fan service here. Now, fan service is obviously something that's a part of the game, because if you're an anime fan, this is usually where you stand, or if you're I guess like people say casuals, this is also a way to just give it to it. But if you're a long-term fan and you love the anime and the brand as a whole, the fan service here is amazing. So I just wanted to show the art that also inspired the video too, was the art from the last premium Bandai set. Now, depending on how you feel about the actual like pricing of stuff doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me is the level of depth that we get with a lot of art to really bring a lot of these cards and their feelings to life. So yes, this was a premium product, but still the artwork here is amazing. You have the different feels for Agumon and Gabumon, mandatory, I guess, if I had to be honest, for making an Omnimon set. But more importantly, I love the dueling artworks of Greymon and Garurumon here. They really are amazing and standing out. Like, I really feel like when you see this art, it should encapsulate a lot or capture a lot of the essence that Digimon really wants to bring to the game. Like, yes, it's technically kids based, like it's meant for like children, but there's also this vibe and feeling you get when you see Digimon grow up in terms of like evolving, that you get this vibe that's like, it's not just for kids. Like, you got this amazing dinosaur ready to go to battle against this amazing wolf, and you just kind of have this feeling of also knowing the decks combined together. So it's just an ultimate feeling for me, where you watch this and you just really feel like, wow, I love it. Additionally, if you want like animated fan service as well, we have stuff like this if you're like a manga to anime person. And the reason I say that is you start to realize with some of the depictions, like in if you're an X Chronicle person, or you've watched X Evolution, I love the secret rare arts, the other alternate arts for our different royal knights, because me seeing this is just absolutely fantastic, and I do think that most people would agree that these arts have the most detail. So you really love to see the treatment of a lot of these artworks being given, so it really gives the magnitude of understanding that, like, oh, if I'm a fan and I just saw that in like a show or an anime or the movie or the manga, you're like, oh my god, look at this, it's so cool, and I think that's absolutely an insanity part of the fan service. Is like, yeah, if you're a fan of like a fan favorite Digimon, you'll get a lot of fan service, you'll get a lot of art here. Additionally, we saw this, I think, really masterfully in BT17, where we have a lot of different like movie moments or moments from the anime really captured extremely well in the artwork of a lot of the films. I really love the feeling of like when you look at Tai and Matt, you really have a feeling like it almost feels that they pulled the art from the movie, even though it's not, it was drawn. And I think that's really cool because it still has that same vibe of thinking, oh wow, it's from like our war game, or for us in the West, the first Digimon movie. But then obviously when we see like Diaboromon's Revenge, or the second movie for us, or yeah, I think it's the second movie for us too, you get to see like Davis and Ken. Also the formation of Imperial Digimon Paladin mode, absolutely phenomenal. And just seeing the shining light, I just really love that development, because it just, like I said, it really feels like they ripped it away to give you guys the actual service. Additionally, Takato, I think him going into Crimson mode, absolutely insane. Still a fantastic piece of artwork. And then finally, I didn't forget, if you are obviously into waifus, we have them too. So yeah, fan service all the way, and explained here very well. Now we're going to go on to the last part of the video, and this is my favorite, which is just personal favorites and the reasonings. I think the artwork is super good. So I have personal reasons here as well as my favorite artwork. So depicting one of my favorite artworks, and I think this is a favorite of many, I have Morishita's a War Greymon from BT14. I absolutely love this card. But this is my favorite card to play with because when I was lucky enough to actually get my hands on this card, I had to do a little bit of scrimping and scrounging and found a way to get it. So I was glad I finally picked it up. But not just because I choose to play the card, but I absolutely love its artwork. If I could find a way to squeeze it into every like Greymon deck going forward, I would try to find a way because of how amazing it is. The main aspect of it just encaptures like one of everybody's favorite moments is watching like War Greymon develop the Terra Force, Gaia Force for those who are, and just like watching it build up and seeing the depiction of War Greymon in the background, seeing the artwork, seeing the style, seeing the light envelop, so it's making it darker because obviously the light from the Gaia Force is shining downward, so we're looking at it like kind of from the perspective of straight, so it's everything's getting dark around the armor, but that's because the light is focused above. It's just absolutely amazing. This card is beautiful and all that, and it carries with it so much weight, and it is my favorite art of a card to just simply have because War Greymon's just awesome. But finally, I want to cap off with a personal story and finish the video. And this is because of this, the BT3 Shine Greymon. Now, mine is a personal reason. This is my favorite card. But this is my favorite card not because I actually played the deck. This is my favorite card because this was a gift from one of my friends. So if you're ever watching it, I cherish this card. I always thank you for giving me that as a birthday gift because you really didn't have to because he was opening sets up with his brother and I always appreciated it, so it means something to me. But this is kind of the key part of the video where I want to close it off is that, you know, a lot of times when it comes to art being on another level is just great in itself. But, you know, sometimes it is when we are either gifted or we appreciate something for what it is more so than what it does. It really does make you feel good. And I think for the artists that create the art and why Digimon card art's on another level, I mean, I think about this card because I simply just keep it as a gift because, you know, it was a gift to me and it means a lot. So ultimately it sits in my collection as a way to say, you know, that's my favorite art because it was my favorite gift someone gave to me and it means a lot to me. But also it's beautiful. I love the artwork, and I think it's the key part of understanding that when it comes to Digimon card art, I feel more inclined to keep my cards because they don't look just like any of my other cards that, like when I play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like a lot of times I could let go of my cards from Yu-Gi-Oh!, trade them, you know, sell them, and they don't really have a physical attachment to them in that they don't really matter as much unless it's like my absolutely favorite deck, which is for a discussion for another day. But the point is they look the same, so what's so special about it? I just really want to trade up to the rarities at that point. And for Digimon, it's not that simple. It's literally like, I look at this, it's an absolutely piece of art in its own regard, and I'd rather just keep it because it's special more so than it just is something like the others. Like, yes, there's multiple copies of it, but I want to keep my own piece because it's almost like its own art. And that's ultimately where I want to cap it off because everything is beautiful. And for the Digimon card art, this is why it's on another level. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video today. It was a bit of a departure from our normal content, but I do hope that it got through to you guys understanding how lucky we are to have so much amazing art in the card game, and also how great Digimon as a card game is when it comes to showcasing its art to us. But as always, this has been Brad from the Ad Army signing off, and for all of you out there, to sign on.